Hey, what's going on, everyone? So, a few years ago, we coached a very successful professional basketball player at our gym, and this player played overseas. And he once gave me an amazing insight into how he had been able to stay healthy playing a very physical sport for many years. And what he went through with me has impacted me personally, and we've applied these same principles with our clients. So before I get into that, for those who don't know who I am, my name is Luke Briggs. I'm the owner of the Total Life Fitness Academy, where we specialize in helping parents and busy professionals lose body fat, build muscle, and have more energy. I've been a coach for over 10 years, and I've worked with nearly 3,000 clients. So before I get into the story about the basketball player, I want to first share my personal injury history. And the majority of these injuries that I got were pretty much all preventable injuries. They were things that if I had just taken better care of myself, I probably could have prevented. So, number one, in college and in my early 20s, I would constantly pull my hamstrings. Many of my friends can vouch for that. I would estimate I've probably pulled or strained my hamstrings 15 plus times. I mean, I would feel a slight pull in my hamstrings, and then sometimes it'd be worse. Like I remember, playing in a doubleheader flag football game a few years ago, and it was like the second game. I was running a route and just like, it seriously felt like my hamstring just like tore in half. And it was definitely out for the rest of the season. I think it was only a few games left, but definitely have had a number of hamstring injuries. Number two, I've had shoulder issues, benching. I've been to physical therapy for both of my shoulders. I couldn't bench press for a while because my shoulders would always hurt. Traditionally, I had always just gone as heavy as I could almost every time. When I was in college, I would bench press every other day. So 3 or 4 days per week for years. So, and I didn't really have the greatest technique either. So I was definitely just constantly putting a lot of wear and tear on my shoulders and was doing it without proper form. Number three is I've definitely tweaked and thrown out my back a number of times. I've missed like entire sporting events because I threw out my back lifting. Like there have been numerous times where I've had like a flag football game or a basketball game or something like that. And I've had to say, hey, I can't make it today. I didn't actually tell the person I couldn't make it because I literally couldn't function because my back was hurting, because I was embarrassed because, there was no reason it should have hurt. But as an example, about 8 or 9 years ago, when I was a trainer at the gym in person, there was another class going on. I wasn't coaching the class, but there was a training class going on. There may be a few other people in there, and I was off to the side doing trap bar deadlifts. So at this point, I was training for powerlifting, and my goal was to lift as heavy as possible. And I would rotate different lifts. So I wouldn't always do straight bar deadlift. I would sometimes do elevated deadlifts with a barbell, or sometimes I would do trap bar deadlifts or other, top down deadlifts, or a bunch of different various motions and different rep schemes as well. Sometimes I do 1 rep, sometimes I do 3 reps, sometimes I do 5 reps, sometimes I do other rep schemes as well. But at this point, I was doing sets of 5. And on my last set, I was going to go for a personal best on the trap bar deadlift for 5 reps. And when I was doing it, I literally just gave everything that I had. I mean, I was grinding it out. I'm pretty sure my body was like shifting side to side. My back was horribly rounded. And I ended up getting all 5 reps. And I remember as soon as I finished the set, I was feeling pretty good for about 5 seconds. And I'm like, cool, I just hit a PR. And then after that, for about a minute or two later, I remember feeling like I had been hit by a train. Like my back was so sore, and I don't even think I could finish my workout at this point. I think I just did some upper body stuff or did stuff light. And for the next month after this, like I literally couldn't back squat, I couldn't deadlift, I couldn't do the hip hinge pattern or the RDL. I just did like upper body stuff and then maybe like glute bridges or very light lower body things, anything where I cut my torso straight up and down, maybe like a split squat. But at that point, I was just like, was it really worth it for me to hit that PR? I had thrown out my back again. Number 4, I've had pain in both knees. I've never been like diagnosed with anything, but I've been to PT for it. Through running on concrete, or whatever it was, just doing a lot of quad work or just doing a lot of exercise over the years previously with improper form. And still to this day, I wear knee sleeves whenever I train lower body because it just helps my knees feel a lot better, just because I do have all that wear and tear from years of doing things incorrectly and just pushing too hard. Number 5, I have pain in both of my elbows, or I had pain in both of my elbows. I didn't bench press at one point for about 6 to 9 months because of medial elbow pain. I think as soon as I got over a certain weight, I just wouldn't push any harder. I think I can't remember what the exact weight was, but maybe I bench pressed very lightly, but anything with a barbell bench just really irritated me for at least 6 months. And then I had lateral elbow pain in the other elbow, and I didn't go in for either of them, but I'm sure that if I went in, I would have been diagnosed with something. I've also sprained both my ankles, playing flag football, playing other sports. I remember there was a time where I didn't play for at least a few weeks because of a sprained ankle. And then I ended up going into the chiropractor. He ended up adjusting my ankle 2 times and it was like new. Thankfully, I was able to see the chiropractor. So definitely I'm a huge fan of chiropractors. So essentially the moral of the story is I didn't prioritize my recovery and I would always just keep pushing regardless of how my body felt. Now, a few years ago, we coached a very high level basketball player at our gym. He was someone who was known in our area and, great guy, had played for a number of years. I think at this point he was 35 years old, 34 or 35 years old, which in basketball, with all the wear and tear you put on your body is a pretty long career. He played overseas in a number of different countries. And when I had chatted with him the year previously, he was the 3rd leading scorer in his entire league, despite the fact that he was the oldest player on the team. And he also played the most minutes by far of anyone on his team that year. Again, he was the oldest player on the team, and he played by far the most minutes of anyone on his team, even more so than the rookies and the young guys. So as he was telling this to me, I asked him, "What's your secret?" And then he leaned in and told me, and I'm paraphrasing here, all these young guys, when they get hurt in practice, they just keep going and they push through it. They'll tweak their ankle and they'll just be like, "Oh, I'm good," and just keep going. And then he said, "If I feel a tweak or a twinge in anything, I just stop." So basically, he worked out smarter, not harder. He had a very long-term view. He wouldn't just keep pushing through it. He just stopped and lived to play another day. And he also paid extra close attention to his strength training and his recovery. When he was at the gym, he would spend like 15, 20 minutes after each workout doing some band work, stretching out his hips, stretching out his hamstrings. He would do a lot of mobility work. He would get there early. He would stretch out. He would, rest between sets. He didn't do anything stupid. And he left his ego at the door. His goal was to play basketball. Therefore, he didn't need to crush himself or go beyond doing anything in practice or doing anything in training because he wanted to be healthy for the games. And the words that he said to me have resonated with me even to this day. After personally getting hurt all the time when I trained a few years ago, I haven't sustained any major injuries in recent years, knock on wood. But anytime I feel anything that's uncomfortable in a bad way during my lifts, I just stop and then I move on to the next exercise. I go lighter with my movements and I practice sound technique and proper form over everything else. And that's something that we teach inside our Total Life Fitness Academy as well. Master your movement and then execute your lifts or your exercises with proper form over everything else. Even if your goal is to lose body fat, you better make sure that you're healthy. Your joints aren't hurting, your body's not hurting, so you can continue to train to make progress on that front. Form over everything else. And this advice from the pro basketball player, as I said, has served me well even to this day, and our members as well. So what are a few things that we've implemented in our training both my training personally and in our program to reduce the risk of injury. Number one, we make sure everyone does a thorough warm-up. Number one, a thorough warm-up. We're not only talking about a dynamic warm-up where you stretch out your hip flexors, activate your glutes, mobilize your hips, activate your core, things like that. But we also warm up and do warm-up sets on different exercises. So as an example, let's say I'm doing a lat pull down. And just for simplicity's sake, let's say I'm working up to 100 pounds for 5 sets of 10. And I want to build up to 100 pounds. Instead of just starting right at 100 pounds at my heaviest weight, I might do a set at 40 pounds. Then I might do it my second set at 70 pounds. And then my last 3 sets will be at 100 pounds. But I've worked my way up there to that top weight. I've got my joints lubricated, and I'm just feeling better, and I'm feeling ready to be able to handle that heavier load. So warming up is definitely crucial to reducing the risk of injury. Number 2 thing we do is, and I do personally, is hit at least 8 to 10,000 steps per day. Hit at least 8 to 10,000 steps per day. If all you're doing on your off days or the times when you're not training is just sitting around, especially with a lot of us, we have desk jobs or we're working from home and we're just sitting all day, we're not moving as much. And it's very important for recovery that our bodies are moving consistently on our off times. So making sure we're getting those steps in is really important. If you don't already have a fitness tracker or a watch or whatever it is, a smartwatch, I should say, definitely pick one of those up because it's really telling. It's just like tracking your food for the first time. When you see how many steps you're actually taking in a day, you might be alarmed to see how few steps you're actually taking. Number 3 is proper sleep, at least 7 hours per night. And I'll be fully transparent with this one. This is one that I'm consistently working on improving as well, and I'm certainly not perfect with, is getting to sleep on time and getting enough sleep. But proper sleep is really important from a recovery standpoint because the greatest concentration of hormones is released when you are sleeping, and your body basically repairs itself while you're sleeping. And if you're consistently cutting yourself short on sleep, you're not going to be giving your body what it needs to fully recover. So proper sleep is definitely important. Number 4 is high quality nutrition. Number 4 thing we do to reduce the risk of injury is high quality nutrition. It can help you decrease inflammation. It gives the body the right amount of vitamins and minerals to strengthen bones and reduce the risk of breaks and fractures. And then avoid starvation diets. If you do a starvation diet where you're eating like 500 to 1,000 calories a day or like 1,200 calories a day for months on end, you're not giving your body enough nutrients to heal and repair itself. If your body, if your BMR is like 1,500 calories and you're only eating 1,000 calories, you're literally not even giving your body enough food to even function throughout the day. Sure, you can have like certain periods of time where you're at a lower amount, but it shouldn't be for an extended period of time if you want to prioritize health and reduce the risk of injury. So high quality nutrition is definitely really important. So just in general, summing things up, I now have a very long-term view with my training. If my goal is to train for the rest of my life, does it really matter if I hit a PR today, if I'm not feeling it? If I want to train, however long, the day-to-day doesn't matter. It's the same thing like that we kind of correlate with the weight scale. If we're doing the right things long-term, does it really matter if today the scale didn't go down? No. We know that over time, it's going to go down if we do the right things consistently. And same thing with training. If we want to train for a really long time and reduce the risk of injuries, it's important to have that long-term view and not always just get caught up in the day-to-day. Sure, it's important to push hard and try our best, but not at the expense of our health. And our health is, in my opinion, is the most important thing that we can have, especially when it comes to training, because if we're not healthy, regardless of what our goals are, we're not going to be able to maximize our success. So that is the advice from the pro basketball player that changed my life. Hopefully this is helpful for you. If you'd like to connect further about this, Make sure to check out my links in the show notes. You can find me on Instagram at Luke Briggs Fitness. You can find me on Facebook. Just send me a friend request. You can join our free Total Life Fitness Community Facebook group where we provide tons of resources and trainings so you can get more information about how to live your best life. We will chat soon.